You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world, are the words that continue on from this teaching that we just received from Jesus. And as you look upon this image that Jean found for me, Jean Layton found earlier this week, it is an incomplete work. This is a sketch only by the artist, preparing that artists do for the work that is before them. And yet for many, you might have thought that it was already a complete work. In much the same way, you might look at yourselves, or your friends, your family, your neighbors. You might think, pretty complete. But we're not. We are a work in progress, each and every one of us. We are continually changing every day. We are continually moving into a different world every day, because every day brings a new challenge and new changes to each of us. We sometimes forget that. It's not only about ourselves, but it's about those that we come in contact with as well. In our reading today from Matthew, we are reminded by Jesus himself, as the Old Testament taught over and over again, and I will, you know that we must turn the world upside down. That is, the world that we have become accustomed to. The worldly standards that we often buy into and lead our lives day to day with. Because Jesus says that is not the way we are to live as the followers of the Messiah. The principles and the measurements that we judge our own success sometimes is not how God looks upon us. How much money we earn from week to week, day to day, yearly. The style of our automobile, the color of our hair, our strength and our size, what kind of a job we have, our success or failure in sports, how many clubs we belong to. These are often signs of success. My, look how successful she is. How involved in everything she is. Wow, look at all the things that he's done, how much he's accomplished. A group of successful people they are. And yet we don't know their hearts, nor do they know ours. Jesus is challenging us to look upon ourselves and others differently. And it is not easy. Later on today, many of us will be watching, at least in part, the football game, perhaps the commercials, perhaps a little bit of both. And sometime today, we are going to hear someone say, I am so blessed. Right? Particularly after the ball game this evening. The players that win, whichever team it might be, they will, and it's not being critical of them, this is what we've gotten into the habit of doing. They're going to go praising whoever they want to. They're going to go, I am so blessed, I am so blessed. But we notice that never do they pan the camera over to the losers, expecting them to say, I am blessed. Because at that point in time, our culture doesn't want to accept the fact that even those who lose such a contest that we're going to be seeing later on today can feel blessed, because it seems counterintuitive to us. How can you feel blessed when you have, quote, lost? Have they really lost? Our conventional wisdom says, blessed are the ruthless, because they're going to become wealthy. They will run roughshod over everyone, and they will win. Because they've got lots of stuff, and they're going to gather more stuff. Blessed are the powerful, because they get what they want. This is our conventional wisdom of the world around us that we live in. I was humbled yesterday, and I was blessed to watch last night very briefly, and I stumbled upon this, the award program for the NFL. And it was the Play of the Year. And I mention this because I know one of those players. His sister used to cut my hair back in Des Moines, Matthew Hack, the punter for the Miami Dolphins. I met the young man 2 years ago. Humble, gentle soul that he is. And there I am watching television and watching the replay of the play that was made a touchdown for the Miami Dolphins and so on. And I'm going, and he's talking about how blessed he is. But the trick is there that I know that young man a little bit, and he means it, which makes me think about how many of these other players and people that I listen to or see, do they mean it or do they not mean it? Sometimes we get a bit cynical about maybe they don't really mean it, they don't fully understand. In the Life Application Bible, some of the notations on the side says this, that you cannot mourn without appreciating how insufficient you are to handle life by your own strength. You can't be meek unless you know that you have needed gentleness yourself. You cannot hunger and thirst for righteousness if you are proudly thinking of yourself as already righteous. And you can't be merciful without recognizing your own need for mercy. And you can't be a peacemaker if you believe you're always right. The Beatitudes are rooted in a sense of humility, humbleness, particularly before our God, our Creator, the one who formed the earth, breathed life into us. Life in the kingdom that we hopefully look for, hopefully desire, hopefully truly want, is what Matthew is addressing today. If we do not prance around and praying and think that we are worthy of whatever praise we might receive, perhaps we will be humble. Are we going to find what we truly want and seek? One of the stumbling blocks of the Beatitudes today that I've heard countless times, even within my own family, when I remember wrestling with it as well, meekness. Now for many, you might think of meekness as being weak. That's our knowledge of it, but it's not what it means. Not the original meaning in the original Greek language. Meekness means a gentleness and a balance of understanding. That's what it means to be meek. That's not weakness. It's not weakness at all. The Beatitudes lift up for us the fact and the truth that Christianity, our walk with God, is a choice of lifestyle. How we choose to live with each other and the world around us every single day. It's a choice. That we are given strength in by the Spirit of God, yes, but it's still a choice that we have to be willing to take. In the current state of our world, not only with the coronavirus, but the turmoil and the stress that I see in Washington, D.C., that I see between countries, that I see within the churches, universal, words of splitting, divorce, impeachment, grief. I'm not sure about you, but I truly am, and I've wondered why. I hurt emotionally, spiritually. People ask me, are you watching what's going on? I said, no, I can't. I'll read about it, and I do. But I can't engage in the moment sometimes. It hurts too much to watch people fight and argue. And it goes back for many years. Before I recognized my call to be a preacher, when I was in an English class at Iowa State University years ago, in literature, it was not long after I got out of the Marine Corps. And I was listening to the discussion, and the classroom was about 30 of us. And I was older than the majority by far, at least 5 or 6 years. And the majority of the class were just going on and on and on and on about Richard Nixon. Remember, this was a long time ago. And I brought up the subject that I bring up to you now. Same thing. And I hope I don't get the same reaction, because every single one of the students turned on me. When I said President Nixon was wrong, he was guilty, that is a given. But who are we to judge a politician and begin to believe that he was the only one that's ever done something like this? Something along those lines. I forget exactly how I put it. And I mean, every single one of those students turned on me. Back then, I used to smoke cigarettes. Yes, I did. So back then, after class, I went outside, lit up a cigarette, and walked around the building. I was mad. And I went up, stormed up the elevator. You could do that, but I did. How can you storm up the elevator? I'm not sure, but I did. I was still just angry. And I went to look for the instructor, the teacher, who was only 2 or 3 years older than me. And I challenged her. I said, why didn't you say something? She goes, well, I agreed with everything you said. I went, phew. She just pulled whatever anger I had right out of me with that comment. I said, well, why didn't you say something? She goes, I wanted to see how you would deal with the other people. For everyone to turn against you. I wanted to see what you would do. Over the years, since Richard Nixon, we have had President Ford, President Carter, President Reagan, President Clinton, President Bush, another President Bush, President Obama, and our current President Trump. It grieves me to watch what we do to our elected officials. We may not like them. We may not care for what they're doing, what their policies may be. We can go on and on about all of this, but it grieves me to watch us tear each other apart. It hurts me deeply to watch us do this in community and not have the ability to talk with one another. I know for a fact, I believe, rather, with a fact, that if Jesus was standing right now in our very midst and talking to us, he would chastise us for treating each other like this. Bishop Desmond Tutu, on diversity and living together, said this: we inhabit a universe that is characterized by diversity. There is not just one planet or one star. There are galaxies of all different sorts, a plethora of animal species, different kinds of animals, different races, ethnic groups. We are constantly being made aware of the glorious diversity that is written into the very structure of the universe that we inhabit. And we are helped to see that if we were otherwise, things would go awry. How could you have a soccer team if everyone was a goalkeeper? How would it be to have an orchestra if everybody played the French horn. Christians who believe that they are created in the image of God, diversity and unity in three in one, which we in all creation reflect. It is this image of God that is invested into each and every one of us. It is. Jesus' teaching and lifting up the Beatitudes today is not new. Scattered throughout the Old Testament, and I won't read them all to you, throughout the Psalter, Proverbs, Isaiah, and Daniel, is a reflection of the Beatitudes themselves. In the Psalm, happy are all who take refuge in the Lord, 2:12. 106, verse 3, happy are those who observe justice, who do righteousness at all times. Proverbs 3:13, happy are those who find wisdom. Or in Proverbs 8:32, happy are those who keep my ways. Isaiah 32, then justice will dwell in the wilderness and righteousness abide in the fruitful field. Happy will be you who sow beside every stream, who let the ox and donkey range freely. And then Daniel, the prophet, happy are those who persevere and attain the 1,335 days. Happy are those. Teachings of the Beatitudes are not new, and they ring true today as they ever have. We are blessed. We are very blessed to have been called and claimed by our Creator, who loves us and asks us